Come in.
A letter from the Managing Director, sir.
Thank you.
It is an accepted fact throughout the world that the operation of CMA theatres stands for the best in showmanship. This proud position has been achieved by the enthusiasm and hard work of every member of the organisation. In order to help all CMA theatre staff to maintain and improve this high standard, a film has been produced which, I believe, brings out the points so essential to the successful operation of any theatre. They are, first, cooperation enthusiasm of all departments and all individuals within the organisation. Second, courtesy and attention to patrons at all times. Third, above all, showmanship, which is the lifeblood of our industry. When you and your staff see this film, I want you to remember that, although we have chosen for this setting two of our largest suburban theatres, the lessons the film teaches can and should be applied in any of our theatres. All patrons attending our theatres must be shown the greatest possible courtesy and attention, regardless of the price of admission which is paid. They must see a good programme well presented and leave the theatre conscious of the fact that all members of the staff are there to ensure their greater comfort and enjoyment. I hope you will enjoy this film, and that having seen it, you will make yet greater efforts to improve still further the standards of service and showmanship which we have set.
Well, let's see it. Projection?
CMA is an extensive organization. Heading it is the administrator, responsible under the managing director for carrying out company policy, control and cooperation of all departments. First, general theatre control, supervising the overall operation of theatres, particularly showmanship, presentation, economical running and correct theatre management. The films to be shown. Booking department rents films for exhibition, building the most suitable programs for the public's entertainment. The sales department promoting the sale of ice cream, confectionery, soft drinks and cigarettes. The publicity department supplies basic material for the foundation of showmanship schemes and initiates publicity in all its aspects. The 100-odd cafes and dance halls throughout CMA are controlled by the catering department. The engineering department, always faced with a mass of technical problems, looks after equipment and maintenance of theatres. Collating and recording all accounting and statistical information in so big an association is a tremendous job for the accounting department. Licensing and personnel. The licensing department ensures and advises on all legal and statutory regulations. Recruitment and welfare are dealt with by the personnel department. Finally, the children's club department, which supervises and administers the clubs throughout the country. It carefully selects suitable programs and strives to establish higher standards of entertainment for children. All these departments are situated at head office, forming the managing organization of CMA. This vast network of theatres which covers the British Isles is split into the Odeon and Gaumont circuits. But the backbone of it all is the individual theatre, and the theatre itself is almost entirely a matter of personality, the personality of its staff. Taking a typical theatre as an example, let's have a good look at the way it's run. A theatre must always be clean and smart. A clean theatre is usually an efficient one. The actual work itself is planned by the Chief of Staff, who divides it under two headings: daily routine work and periodical cleaning. The head cleaner is responsible to the Chief of Staff for the carrying out of these detailed duties. Every morning a theatre is covered with litter. It should never be swept up, for a brush not only raises dust, but presses some of it back into the carpet. Always pick it up. Ashtrays should always be inspected the night before to avoid any risk of fire, and then emptied the following morning. After that, they must be polished. When using a vacuum cleaner, don't run it lightly over the carpet. Press it down firmly in the direction of the pile. A carpet not properly cleaned will have a considerably shorter life. Dust collects on seats as much as anywhere else, and as with carpets, press the vacuum cleaner down hard to draw the dust up and out. Of course, it's impossible to get round all the seats in the morning, for it takes a month or so to cover an average-sized theatre. By using a systematic method, blocks of seats can be cleaned daily and a record kept of progress. Carry out a check on seating, and ashtrays too for that matter, for such things as small but dangerous tacks can seriously damage patrons' clothing. It's surprising how easy it is to forget dust in the less obvious places, but here again, careful inspection soon puts things right. Toilets must be inspected daily and kept scrupulously clean. Don't overlook such routine duties as restocking with paper towels. Ensure that the flush is working properly in the lavatories and that there is always toilet paper and deodorant blocks. Unsanitary conditions not only leave patrons with a very bad impression, but help to spread disease. The fireman holds a great responsibility. Not all theatres maintain one full time, so that his duties must often be carried out by a member of the male staff. After checking the safety curtain, all taps, pipes and valves must be inspected backstage. He must make sure that blankets, extinguishers and sand are on top line, and hoses clean and ready for any possible emergency action. Most important, that all padlocks have been removed from exit doors before the theatre opens. The successful handling of any emergency by him and the theatre staff is entirely dependent upon the care and attention given by him to the firefighting equipment. Sprinklers must be examined to see that they are free and undamaged, and the sparge pipe and safety curtain release must always be working properly. The fireman's daily report on the state of firefighting appliances must be given priority attention by the manager, who is held solely responsible under law for the safety at all times of patrons and staff on the theatre premises. Members of the staff should have a working knowledge of the appliances so that they can share the responsibilities held by the fireman. Only when he is thoroughly satisfied that everything is in order should he make his final call to the local brigade to check the telephone line. Meanwhile, the manager is interviewing a prospective usherette.
Of course, you realize that your hours will be rather different from a factory or an office.
Yes, I've thought of that.
But once you get into the way of things, I think you'll find this job very interesting. You must remember that patrons come to a theatre wanting to be entertained. If we can send them away in a happier mood, then we've done a good job of work. There must be courtesy and consideration to all patrons at all times, whether they paid the highest or the lowest price of admission. One word that you will hear used over and over again in this theatre is service. That is the secret of success in show business. The friendly service that we extend to our adult patrons is even more important when we're entertaining children. Exceptional care is necessary in the queue and seating control in their case. But it brings a great sense of satisfaction when you see them happy.
Yes, I can see that, sir.
Now, you can get a lot of fun out of thinking up ideas to help the manager with the publicity of his films.
Oh, me, sir?
Now, one final point. This theatre work is essentially a job that depends on your feeling happy and free from worries. Nothing's worse than having something on your mind. So always remember, if there's anything that worries you, whether in the job or personally, just come and see me about it. I will try and put it right. Or at any rate, we can talk things over.
Thank you, sir, I will.
Come in. I want you to meet Miss Wallace. Miss Wallace is joining us as an usherette. This is Mr. Dixon, our Chief of Staff.
How do you do?
Miss Wallace will start work as from today. Will you introduce her to Miss Campbell?
Yes, sir.
She's our head usherette. Well, I hope you'll be happy, Miss Wallace. Be efficient, courteous, and enthusiastic about your job. The association will do all it can for you in return.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Will you come this way, Miss Wallace?
Sure, sir.
Miss Campbell. This is Miss Wallace. She's starting as an usherette today.
How do you do?
Would you fit her up with the uniform and help to make her feel at home?
Yes, of course, Chief. Will you come with me?
Meanwhile, the projection staff are looking after their end of things. Theirs is a complex and highly technical job, and although in this film it is impossible to go into all the many details connected with projection, there are certain things to bear in mind. After the arc mirror has been taken out, the bottom of the lamp house must be kept free from dust and stub ends of carbon. The mirror must always be highly polished. The projector itself must be carefully maintained, for it is an expensive and delicate piece of machinery. The gate must always be kept clean. Any specks of emulsion or dust left on it could easily scratch prints. When cleaning the lens, always use the special materials that are available. They will prevent scratching of the lens or damage to the extremely thin surface coating. The non-sync must be checked every morning. Needles should be looked at, and the turntables themselves thoroughly brushed so that no dust can get onto the discs. Discs that are worn, dirty or scratched must never be used. They must always be carefully selected, for they can add much to the patron's enjoyment. In general, presentation of a disc program demands a deal of thought and consideration. The arc rectifiers must be regularly inspected every morning. A loose connection or a damaged fuse can easily stop the show. BTH sound and projection equipment is normally installed in Odeon theatres and GBK Lee equipment in Gaumont theatres. But whatever equipment it is, effortless and unobtrusive operation will help to give patrons the first-class entertainment they have paid for. It's things like this which ruin their evening.
Where's Sophie?
Oh, just the light. You're blocking the light.
Well, Nicholas, do stop for a minute and listen to me.
Always listen to my dear.
The picture must always be sharp and clear.
Nicholas, I'm serious.
Oh, yes, let's have peace.
Indistinct sound also spoils presentation and can be very annoying.
How did you know? Why?
Well, this man who's coming, this Summers, he must be warned about her.
With the modern aids and equipment in use today, a changeover like this should never happen, but it sometimes does.
Side, and Summers wouldn't leave her behind. There's no point in a whole lot of men standing around on this side.
How bad is Summers?
They say he's broken a couple of ribs and they may have fractured an ankle.
It's just as easy to do it this way. A changeover should neither be seen nor heard.
Summers wouldn't leave her behind. There's no point in a whole lot of men standing around on this side.
How bad is Summers?
They say he's broken a couple of ribs and they may have fractured an ankle.
Keeping a good, even illumination over the screen area is essential, and the masking must always be perfectly symmetrical. As the picture size appears different from various viewing points, proscenium and stage layout must be most carefully arranged. Secondary lighting is of great importance in a theatre. Batteries must be regularly examined and fully charged so that in an emergency they can provide the necessary illumination. Failure of the secondary lighting system could mean the closing down of a theatre. Now the air conditioning plant. It is essential that air heater batteries are kept free of dust and that eliminator plates in the washer chamber are never clogged up or bent. In theatres where there is no permanent staff engineer, a great deal of responsibility falls on the projectionist's shoulders. But if regular attention is given to the essentials, oiling, cleanliness and minor adjustments, the little time it takes amply pays for itself in avoiding any potential breakdowns. If neon lighting is being used outside the theatre, then it should be tested. Nothing looks more untidy than a letter or section that is not lit. Correct heating and ventilation play an important part, so down below the boiler man is attending to his job, ensuring that the theatre is at a comfortable temperature. Just to make certain, the projectionist checks it too. Any defective valves must always be replaced and fittings kept thoroughly clean. When handling film, making up a program for instance, great care should be taken. It's just as easy to make a good join as a bad one. Scratches, damaged perforations and poor joins all tend to remind the patron of the mechanical nature of the entertainment and can utterly spoil outstanding photography and sound recording. When joining safety film stock, remember that it must be kept in the joiner longer under pressure to make it permanent. Every week of the year out 21 million feet of film pass through CMA projectors. All this film, just as much as the equipment, must be meticulously cared for, as print replacement is an expensive item. After all, motion picture entertainment is built up on an optical illusion, and it is only through the efforts of the projectionists that this illusion can be maintained. Well, Miss Wallace, having been engaged, is now in uniform. The first thing she must learn is that an usherette must always look smart, take a pride in her appearance, make certain of things like these. There's always a mirror in the staff room. Use it. Don't wait to tidy yourself up in front of patrons. Small points really, but they make such a difference. A modern theatre is a vast place, and at first glance it can seem a little confusing. It's up to the head usherette to see that the new recruit knows everything about its workings. Only then can she give the best possible service.
Everything quite clear?
Yes, thank you.
Now remember to greet patrons with a smile, and when you're speaking to anybody, address them as sir or madam. Always escort patrons to their seats. Never leave them to find their own.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, before showing patrons down the gangway, you must be certain that there are vacant seats. Oh yes, do do try and avoid leaving single seats.
Yes, but supposing someone wants to sit in a particular seat.
Well, then by all means let them do so, providing there are seats available at that price. You'll soon find being courteous and tactful helps to make satisfied patrons. You know, we depend very much on repeat visits.
Before the new usherette starts work, she must know where everything is located. It must be explained just how the theatre is divided and how each section is covered by an usherette. This is particularly important when the house breaks, to prevent patrons in the cheaper seats moving to the more expensive ones. In many theatres, barrier ropes are used, but when they are disconnected, the half must touch the floor, a strict regulation demanded by the local and Home Office authorities. The head usherette must then explain where she is to be found, always in a strict position for the passing on of information. Provided for the use of usherettes when they are not performing any of their duties during quiet periods. The seats are spring-loaded so that they automatically swing back flush with the wall and so form no obstruction. They should, of course, never be used when the theatre is busy. The release for the fire shutters is often tucked away in an inconspicuous position. All members of the theatre staff must know where it is in the event of an emergency.
You know, it takes some time for a patron to get used to the dark in here, so don't walk too quickly. Use your torch properly. Never flash it across seats to see if any are vacant. It's most annoying. Always see that your battery's a good one and keep the torch focused on the floor. If anybody stumbles and falls because of your negligence, it can be a serious matter. Now, is there anything else?
Suppose someone wants to transfer to higher price seats.
Then they must always get their transfer tickets at the cash desk. Never handle money yourself.
But suppose they won't leave because they don't near the picture.
Well, in that case, never argue, but politely ask the patrons to wait until you've called for the manager. He'll know exactly what to do. Oh, one last thing. Don't chatter in the theatre. It's most irritating to patrons and completely spoils their entertainment. And even more important, it ruins all our efforts for good service.
Pity you couldn't get in to see the run-through. It's a good picture. Plenty of action. Should do well with it. I like the shorts, too. Now, I want to run through the timesheets for the next month again.
The manager previews his program on change days to watch the presentation, to cue sound, and to check the running time. He prepares timesheets, especially for Saturdays and public holidays, well in advance of the actual playing dates.
Ah, now, that's a long program. I want to get the last but one showing of the features near to 6 o'clock as I can. It's going to be a bit tricky. I think we'll have to open at least half an hour earlier that week.
Program planning makes a great difference to the takings. If the next to the last run of the feature comes on too early, patrons may miss the beginning of the film. If they can't wait until the start of the last complete performance, it may mean not only disappointed patrons, but patrons lost.
I see what you mean. That'd be the best way to do it. By the way, we can arrange a good type at the bookshop at the corner for that film.
Mm-hmm.
Careful planning and hard work by all members of the staff are required to prepare publicity and exploitation schemes. But the more the manager brings his staff into the planning, the more interested they become in the running of the theatre. That means more ideas and better business.
Well, let's leave that idea for the moment. We're meeting the staff tomorrow to discuss their program. You can plot it out then.
Okay, sir. It's about time the staff parade was ready. I'll go and see how it's coming along.
Right.
Among the theatre staff, the cashier is a very important link in the chain. She has an exacting job of work to do, combining speed, courtesy, efficiency, and accuracy. Before the theatre opens, she receives the daily return book and tickets. Once satisfied that everything tallies, she then signs for the day's tickets in the ticket book, which is retained by the manager. Incidentally, an efficient cashier never runs out of tickets during the hours of admission. That would be a serious breach of theatre service. safe come her keys, a float of small change, and finally, the transfer ticket box. The cashier should then be escorted to the cash desk by the manager. At close of business, it is essential that she be taken back to the office by a member of the male staff. Once she is inside, it must be made quite certain that the desk is securely locked. At no time must any unauthorized person be allowed to enter. Her first job is to open up the automatic ticket machine and take out any magazines which need reloading. When joining up, she must ensure that the finishing and commencing ticket numbers are in correct sequence. The tickets which have been dropped into the magazines the night before are then rethreaded onto the machine tumblers. A careful scrutiny is then made to see that both tickets and machine numbers correspond. Then she must check the tickets in the machine against those in the daily return book. In the event of any discrepancy being noticed, it must be brought to the immediate attention of the manager. Then the ticket numbers on the transfer rolls. Although the cash float has been checked the previous night, it must be checked again as she prepares her small change. The cashier is then ready to switch on the machine and open for business. The staff parade is nearly over. It is held daily about 15 minutes before opening time. All uniformed staff are inspected, not in the strict military sense, but with an eye to smartness and cleanliness.
Everything all right, Miss Wallace?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Good.
Good afternoon. Well, first of all, I must compliment you on a very smart turnout. Any problems of discussion?
Oh, yes, sir. As next week's program's starting a bit earlier than usual, can we have the new work roster as soon as possible? It would help us a lot with our shopping times.
Yes, it's already been prepared. The Chief of Staff will be putting up notices today. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir, but when we're very busy, wouldn't it be better to sell tickets to patrons while they're waiting in the queues? I think it'd save a lot of time, sir.
That's a good question, Randall. Glad to see you're taking so much interest. Now, the trouble is that once we sell a ticket to a patron, we're guaranteeing that he'll be able to see the whole of the program to be shown from the time the ticket is bought. Now, once the last program started, you realize that we can't guarantee a queuing patron that he'll be able to see the whole show. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, thank you. That's quite clear, sir.
Good. Anything else? Now, there's one thing I must emphasize. As you know, next week we're showing White Corridors, starring Boogie Withers, James Donald, Godfrey Turl, and Petula Clark. Now, you've all seen the trailer and should have a pretty good idea what this film's about. I've seen it myself and can tell you it's a first-class picture. And that's why I want all of you to start talking about it.
Perhaps you may not know it, but there are 22,000 people working for CMA. And I like to think of all these people, including ourselves, as 22,000 ambassadors working to create better business. I know I can rely on you, all, to do your best for our better business drive. Now, one more point. As you come to work, I'm sure many of you pass our poster sites.
Now, please make it a rule, in fact, make it a habit, to see that they're up to the mark.
Make sure they're always showing the right bill, that they're clean, and a credit to our theatre. If you do that, you're doing good service. Now there'll be the usual fire drill on Sunday afternoon, and that's all. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. You're wanted on the phone for the manager of the Gaumont.
Oh, right, I'll come at once. You take over, Chief. I'll be back. Here are the staff positions for today. Miss Edwards, stalls checkout. Miss Wallace, back stalls. Miss Jones, front stalls.
Hello, how are you, George?
Fine, Freddie. Very good houses this week.
Same here.
But we have a bit of trouble. We've got 2 girls sick and it's making things rather awkward. Could you spare me one of your usherettes to help me out today?
Yes, I think so. Hang on a moment, I'll check. Hello, that you, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Look, I got Mr. Robinson, manager of the Gaumont, on the outside line. Could we spare him one of our usherettes just for today?
Let's see. Yes, I'll send Miss Edwards round.
Right. Yes, that'll be all right, George. She'll be along very shortly. Miss Edwards, the name?
That's wonderful. I'm very grateful.
Not at all, George. Pleasure. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I've arranged about Miss Edwards, sir, and changed the staff positions.
Good.
In company with the Chief of Staff, the manager goes round to make his final check that all padlocks have been removed from exit doors, that main lighting is on. Exit lights and any secondary lighting. Emergency lighting tested. Screen tabs closed and stage lighting all set. As soon as he is satisfied that everything is in order, the manager calls up the projectionists and tells them to start the non-sync.
Stand by to open, Chief. Non-sync. Go. Good.
At last it's ready. The manager has a final look at the front of house dressing, sales kiosk, category board and the cash desk, and then open up. Well, the theatre's open, and Miss Edwards is on her way to the Gaumont.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. I'm Miss Edwards from Rupert.
Good, we're expecting you. Miss Thomas. This is Miss Thomas, our head usherette.
How do you do? How do you do? Would you like to come to the staff room right away? Everything all right?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Good. Now, you're lucky. I think we've got a couple of new uniforms from head office. Yes, I think that one should fit you all right.
Thank you.
There you are. How long have you been at the Odeon?
About 2 years.
Do you like it?
Oh, yes, very much. There's a nice friendly atmosphere. I've been very happy there.
Yes, it's pretty good here, too. Well, anyway, you know the ropes. You won't have any trouble at this theatre. Says uniform fits you pretty well,
Yes,
doesn't
it does, doesn't it?
Well, ready now?
Yes.
Oh, well, you'll be working in the stores. Well, shall we go down now? Oh, by the way, there's a torch for you inside.
During the last few years, the sale of ice cream, soft drinks, nuts and confectionery has developed into one of the most appreciated services to the public. The sales kiosk can make a bright spot in the theatre entrance, and if possible, it should be set in a position where it draws attention to itself. The sales girl must have a good appearance and be courteous, helpful and intelligent. She is not only in a position to create goodwill for the theatre, but she can have a great influence on the volume of business.
Is there anything else, sir? cigarettes?
Have you got 20 players?
I'm sorry, sir, we're out of players. But we have got Churchman, Growflick or Kensington.
Could I have 20 Churchmen, please?
Book matches, sir?
Oh, yes, thanks.
That'll be 3 and 9.
Very nice.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, madam.
If the kiosk is not in the best position, directional signs can help to point the way. Spotlights, too, often add to the kiosk's attraction, and skillful lighting always helps to give brighter presentation. Now, 1 or 2 other points. The center lighting unit must always be kept clean. Mirrors enhance the lighting and create an appearance of well-stocked shelves. The counter should never be overloaded with goods. Displays should be arranged so that the principal selling items are placed centrally, with other goods built around them. Advertising and display material can always be obtained from the sales department. A balanced color scheme is important, and the display should be rearranged as often as possible. Trays must be prepared by a senior member of the full-time staff, who also keeps figures of issue and checks returns. There should be a selection of the types of ice cream available, and to speed up service, each girl should hold a small float of change. The greatest care must be taken to see that the ice cream is not out of the refrigerator so long that its condition deteriorates. Any unsold after a maximum of 10 minutes must be returned to the refrigerator. Many hands make light work, and the introduction of maximum coverage in most theatres disposes of the old system of reloading points. Methods obviously vary from theatre to theatre, but it is essential that the manager or his immediate deputy supervise the sales interval. Now, this is one way to do it. The 4 sales girls at the front of the stalls move straight up their respective aisle to the back of the theatre. Whilst 2 girls stationed in the center provide additional coverage at the back. Wherever possible, sales girls operating from the back of the stalls ensure that no patron is overlooked. Meanwhile, 2 girls cover the center circle, working from the front like this. And full coverage is supplied by 2 others working round the back and side circle. Now let's have a look at it again, with all sales girls operating together, effecting simultaneous service in every corner of the auditorium, thus securing maximum coverage. Spotlight should not indicate a sales girl for more than 5 seconds, and she should move forward the precise moment the spotlight leaves her. It avoids blockage of gangways, it discourages patrons from leaving their seats, and it saves the more shy or diffident patron from being left out. Hands must be spotless, and the sellers must be well-groomed, courteous, and efficient. It takes a little time and trouble, but patrons appreciate the service all the more. It is when a theatre is really busy that teamwork comes into play, all members of the staff working together to keep every seat occupied. Let's follow a couple who come here for an evening's entertainment. If they arrive in a car, it should be parked quickly and efficiently. They should feel they're getting value for money.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening, sir. Nice to see you both again. I'm sure you'll enjoy the show.
I'm sure we will.
They've made a good start here. The car parked without any fuss and a free clean for the windscreen, all of which creates a favorable impression. In front of the theatre there's a queue for 1 and 10 seats, the seats they happen to want. But the fact that the queue is moving encourages them to stay. A queue that moves, no matter how slowly, is far better than a static one. Now, although the doorman has already told patrons there are single seats only available, the cashier must tell them again.
Good evening. I want 2 on 10, please.
2 on and 10, yes, sir. No, they're singles.
Oh, that's different.
I can let you have a double in the circle at 2 and 10. Will you take that, sir?
Yes, we'll have that.
Thank you, sir.
2 1 and 10s, please.
No, they're singles, sir.
Okay, that's all right.
When single seats are bought, issue the tickets separately. The usherette will then know they could not have been issued for double seats, and there can be no argument.
Good evening, madam. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And giving change. If a note is offered, the cashier must always leave it on the desk until the patron has taken his change.
5 doubles, 1 and 10. Here's 1 and 10, please.
It's little things like these that make a theatre run smoothly. The cashier can help too by putting patrons in a receptive mood right from the beginning. Good feeling is soon lost if a cashier is rude or abrupt, but if she is courteous, efficient and accurate, then it will all help to make patrons return, satisfied with the service.
1 and 10.
1 and 10, Thank you.
Transfer to another part of the theatre, they should always be courteously requested to return to the cash desk.
Here.
Oh, look, the usherette's given us seats too near the front. Can I transfer the 2 and 10s?
Yes, I'd rather sit in the circle anyway.
Yes, of course, sir. Thank you. 2 transfers, miss, please. 2 transfers, the 2 and 10s, please.
Certainly, sir. Another 2 shillings, please.
At no time are members of the staff other than the cashier permitted to handle money tendered by patrons.
1 double at 1 and 10. Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
2 1 and 10s, please.
2 1 and 10, sir.
Thank you.
Somewhere in the foyer, usually over the doors leading into the stalls, there should be a clear indication of the length of program. Here's a good idea. The time now, and the time the program will end. Layout of theatres differs considerably, but expert dressing of the house means smoother operation and increased revenue. Whenever possible, patrons should be seated from the middle, so that the house fills up like the opening of a fan. Usually, of course, the cheaper seats fill up first, but whichever part of the house, whether stalls or circle, the same method applies. Always try to avoid isolated single seats. A large number of single seats invariably means bad dressing. The theatre is full now, but owing to a smooth system, our couple have moved quite a way up the queue. They're quite happy, and they feel that everything possible is being done to get them in. This is due to one thing, efficient usherettes. The girls are on their toes all the time, not only making continual checks for vacant seats, but making double seats when at all possible.
He's going without drinking it.
The information is being rapidly fed all the time to the head usherette.
3 doubles at 1 and 10.
Right, thanks.
2 doubles at 1 and 10.
Thank you. 5 doubles at 1 and 10.
5 doubles at 1 and 10, thank you. 5 doubles at 1 and 10, sir.
Service. 5 doubles, 1 and 10. Good evening, madam. Good evening.
1 and 10.
2 1 and 10, sir. Yes, sir.
2 1 and 10.
2 1 and 10, sir.
The cashier is very busy now, but she is always friendly and helpful. The manager is also keeping a watchful eye on things. People waiting outside can tend to get rested. The more movement they see by the front of house staff, the better. The doorman can do a great deal to help. By his friendliness and continual interest, waiting patrons don't feel they're forgotten. If patrons have any questions, then the doorman should be ready to answer them in a friendly way, although sometimes things can get a bit tricky.
Hey, General.
Yes, sir? Look here. Why is this queue moving in more slowly than the others?
Well, sir, it so happens that earlier this evening the higher price seats filled up after the others. So naturally, the patrons from the 1 and 10s are leaving first.
4 doubles, 1 single, 1 and 10.
4 doubles, 1 single, 1 and 10, sir.
Service, 4 double, 1 single at 1 and 10.
This way, sir.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I'm just going across the kiosk.
Very good, dear. 2 1 and 10, please. Thank you.
Good evening, madam.
2 1 and 10.
1 and 10. Thank you, madam. Anything you require, sir? Cigarettes, matches?
No, thank you. What's in that box?
Oh, crystallized ginger, 2 and 9 a box.
Yes, I think so, don't you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, madam. Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Our couple have got in the shortest possible time. They arrived in a good humor, and owing to the efforts of the staff, they haven't lost that feeling.
Just goes to sleep.
They are ushered quickly and efficiently to their seats and are all set to enjoy the program.
Sugar?
They'll come again. Every patron must always present to the checker a whole ticket, which must be torn in half. The checker is also responsible for tearing complimentary tickets issued by the cashier to holders of special privilege, billed and staff passes. As each new checker comes on duty, she must fill in collector authority tickets and thread them onto the strings. Now, apart from continually checking seating, usherettes should be alert to everything that's happening around them. They can often make an important contribution towards ensuring the patron's pleasure, like this, for instance.
Oh, Mr. Robinson, the sound seems a bit low.
I don't understand it. It should have worked.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that's the way things are. In mystery stories, somebody slips somebody a Mickey. Boom. In real life, it's not so. Nothing's simple. Never happens the way you expect.
I've been a miserable failure.
Ah, forget it. What you need is some sleep. Come on, I'll take you.
A little matter like this is soon put right, and the show continues smoothly. First-class equipment is installed in CMA theatres, in this case GBK Lee, which will give the very high standards of presentation.
I'm sorry. I know how you feel, but you did your best. As a matter of fact, more. I don't mind telling you that I did quite a bit of thinking about that crazy scheme.
Back up.
Did you?
Seems a pity that we won't taste it.
Stand by.
Right. Get a chance to look at it.
Motor.
Of course, it was a crazy scheme, but sometimes the Sorry, now
Mr. Robinson, would you please take away the surplus money?
Chief, stand by a minute, please.
The cashier is fully aware of the strict instructions concerning surplus money. At all times, linkmen and doormen are trained to keep a watchful eye on the cash desk. There should never be more than £20 at any time in the cash desk, and when there is a surplus, the manager must take it off to his office and lock it up in the safe. Everything has gone according to plan. Business has been good tonight. The staff can help to make it good every night. The successful running of a theatre really springs from the manager's leadership. Whether the theatre is large or small, it is the manager's tact, ability and personality that count in the long run. One of his most important functions is the planning of his publicity campaigns. Foyer displays must be in a position to catch the public eye, attractively lit and bringing out the points most likely to appeal to patrons. Inside, the full accent is on next week's presentation. The very last thing that meets the eye is the banneret for next week's show. Just one exception, placed in a convenient position, is the cast list of the current film. And so that it can be seen again when they leave, although of course only at the end of the day. Supplies of display material arrive at the theatre in advance of forthcoming films, so that the manager can plan just how these displays can be best used in his publicity campaigns. Every theatre must take great care to ensure that these displays are always maintained in first-class condition. By using thought and initiative, valuable publicity can often be gained from tie-ups with local firms and organizations. Look at this tie-up, arranged by the manager of the Odeon. Attractive and in good taste. Not just a plug for the film, but a logical link between film and commodity. A well-thought-out display adds a touch of glamour to a storekeeper's window and definitely helps to sell his products too. Poster sites must be clean and up to date, and an eye must always be kept open to see that newspaper advertising is all that it should be. As for the front of house dressing, well, it's the theatre's shop window. Nothing to confuse us here. Full concentration on the current program. The first feature, the supporting film, the Sunday program, the newsreel poster, and the Children's Cinema Club program. Good publicity establishes goodwill between the theatre and its patrons. The greater the goodwill, the bigger the business. A great deal of responsibility falls on the manager's shoulders. In particular, he must command the respect of his staff and be ready to give sympathetic consideration to a request, if it is a reasonable one.
Come in. Oh, good morning, Mrs. Hawkins. Do sit down. I'll be with in a moment.
Thank you, sir.
Ah, what's troubling you?
Well, it's that new lot of floor cloths, sir. They're not half as good as the old kind. They're made of such poor stuff that they don't last 5 minutes.
Mrs. Hawkins is right, sir. I have looked at them and they're definitely low grade.
Look at this one, sir. And I've only had it 4 days.
Yeah, it's not too good. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Hawkins, for letting me know. I'll promise I'll look into it.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A floor cloth may seem an unimportant item, but to Mrs. Hawkins, it is a constant source of annoyance if it's not giving her good service. So, as she's right, the manager will take the matter up with head office. All kinds of problems and difficulties happen in theatres, but whatever they are, staff must be ready to meet them.
What's the trouble?
Oh, just a fainting fit, I think, sir.
Oh, take her on to my office.
Thank you, sir.
Take over, Chief.
Service for patrons. It's dealing efficiently and courteously with problems such as this that gives the theatre a good reputation. Patrons do remember, and they'll come back.
Feeling better?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry to be such a nuisance. I should be all right in a minute.
Stay here as long as you like, madam. I hope you'll feel better soon. Look after her, Miss Thomas.
Yes, sir.
I want a ticket to Bradford. Hey, what a battle! What a smashing battle!
Good evening, sir. Very good evening, it seems. Can I assist you?
Ah, there you are, station master. I want a ticket to Bradford, and they tell me that the office is shut. Is there another strike on? Here, look, I've got plenty of brass. Be a pal. Put a special on for me.
Yes, certainly, sir. I think we can arrange that. My chief porter here will take you to the railway station in a taxi, if you wish it.
Certainly I wish it. Hey, what a battle! What a battle!
Good, sir. I'm glad you won.
We lost.
Well, come along, sir. We've got a nice train waiting for you on platform 5.
Much
obliged. Hurry, though.
Much obliged.
Careful consideration must be given to patrons who are hard of hearing. Hearing aids must always be kept clean with a specially sterilized cloth. And owing to the obvious impracticability of conversation, patrons who are hard of hearing do appreciate a silent service.
She's a sweet child, but she's very, very strong. She's always just my wife. That's what I did from her.
I remember that.
Well, that's that. Tea will be a little late.
The usherette must plug in the hearing aid and then set it to what she considers a suitable volume. She must not leave until she is satisfied the patron can enjoy the show. No words are spoken, and the pleasure of surrounding patrons is not interfered with.
Answer the bell, but it's always worth trying. 5 o'clock downstairs. I'll see you then.
Fine, thank you, sir.
I'm a doctor and I'm expecting a call. I wonder if you could possibly...
Yes, certainly, Doctor.
Thank you. 2, 3, and 7, please.
Would you please give this card to the usherette who speaks to you, Doctor?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
This way, please.
The girl at the box office told me to give you that.
Thank you, sir. If there's a call, I'll come for you immediately.
Thank you.
I tell you, my gloves were in the coat when I left it here. A pair of kid gloves in the side pocket. They're not here now. I demand to see the manager.
Good evening, sir. I'm the manager. Can I help you?
Look here, I left a pair of kid gloves in this coat. This confounded girl says they're not there. Where are they?
Shall we see if they've been handed in? Get the lost property book, would you?
Yes, certainly, sir.
Now, sir, what colour were they, and were there any distinguishing marks?
They were brown, a light brown, and one of the gloves had a long burn on the palm. But how can they have been picked up? I put them in my coat, I tell you.
Yes, of course, sir, but it's always worth checking, just in case. Thank you. Yes, give me item 109, would you please? Yes, sir, I think they have been found. A pair like yours were picked up by the cash desk. Here they are, sir. Thank you. These your gloves, sir?
Yes.
Would you mind signing for them, please, sir? Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Not even a thank you.
Well, don't take it to heart. Always work.
Well, the day's work is nearly done. And due to first-class service and teamwork, the patrons have had a good evening's entertainment. Entertainment which, in sheer value for money, is unrivaled in any other form of show business.
Good night, Miss Hawkins. Enjoy the show?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Oh, by the way, you remember that complaint you made about the floor class?
Yes, sir.
I just heard you're getting some better ones sometime next week.
Oh, thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.
The show is over for the patrons. But for the staff, there are still 1 or 2 duties not to be overlooked. Ashtrays must be thoroughly inspected to avoid any possible risk of fire. And at the same time, an eye is kept open for any lost property. Last of all, individual reports are made to the Chief of Staff.
Front stalls and ladies' toilets all clear, Chief.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Circle and ladies' toilets all clear, Chief.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Chief. Back stalls and ladies' toilets all clear, Chief. I found this parcel and umbrella at the end of row N.
Thank you. I'll attend to you. Good night.
Good night.
Stalls, gentlemen's toilets, all clear, Chief.
Thank you. Good night. Good night, Chief.
Circle gentlemen's toilets all clear, Chief.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Chief.
Ashtrays inspected and exit doors padlocked. Thank you. Good night. Good night. Projection room? The chief speaking. House clear. Good night. Come in.
Everything's correct, sir. Somebody's left the umbrella on the parcel. The names of them up in the book, will you? Yes, sir. I'll probably be around for them in the morning. Oh, you want the key of the lost property room, would you?
Yes, sir.
You are.
In this case, the key and lost property book are retained by the Chief of Staff. Immediate attention is then given to patrons who visit the theatre early the following morning to collect lost property.
Will that be all, sir? That's all, thank you. Good night, Chief. Good night, sir.
Very good business tonight, sir.
Yes, excellent.
Night, Charlie.
Good night, sir.
Ah, George, going my way?
Oh, hello, Freddie. Yes. By the way, thanks for that girl you sent along today. She's pretty good. How's business?
Damn good week so far, packing them in.
Same here. We both got good shows.
It's better than that, we both got good staffs.
Freddie, my boy, you've hit the nail right on the head.
Cigarette?
It all adds up to one thing: good showmanship.